Hi. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Hello. So, I am live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Rumble. And I am new to Instagram Live. I don't typically use Instagram, but a lot of people do. So, I'm trying to be more consistent with posting on there or here. So, For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Catherine Vitale. I am a homeschooling mom. I am an activist. I've been an activist for 3 years, and I am a former candidate for Boston City Council. I ran for Boston City Council at large last year with Sean Nelson. We were the only two conservative candidates in the race. And yeah, I do like random spontaneous live streams on all my platforms, and I do all types of activism. I usually live stream when I am doing said activism, and I have all kinds of things going on. I am the state director of the Massachusetts chapter of Blexit. I am working on the Boston for Trump campaign, and I have a website called boston2boston.com, where I'm not a web designer. I will be posting updates on there. You can sign up there for an email, to be on an email list so that I can send emails out when the website is updated, and you can keep up to date with the things that myself and the people that I work with do. Like I said, I've been an activist for 3 years. I've done all types of protests and public demonstrations and direct action and putting pressure on local public officials whenever needed, basically. So the reason why I'm here tonight is to talk about a couple things that have gone on in the past few days. Um, there are some people talking on Twitter about a live stream that I did on Friday night in the Boston Common. And so I wanted to address that, my suspended license, hence the title. And then there was a 2A rally in Boston Common yesterday, so I was going to talk about that, and then a couple other things. So, um, to preface, I had no idea that my license was suspended. And if you actually watch the full live stream on my Facebook, because that's where I was streaming when this happened, I found out on the live stream at the same time that anybody watching live found out. Okay. I absolutely would not have been in the situation I was in had I known that my license was suspended. So, what happened was I was at Boston Common, and I was with Sean. Sean was doing something in the park, and I was just waiting to pick him up. So when um, when I pulled over to let him out to go into the park, I pulled over into the bike lane. There's if you know downtown Boston, Tremont Street, which is where Boston Common is, there used to be 3 lanes of traffic, and now there's 2 lanes of traffic and a massive bike lane. Not like one of those regular size bike lanes that's like half the size of a car lane, but it's a full car lane plus another space in between with those stupid poles, right? So those like white reflector poles, I don't know what they're called. So I pulled over into that bike lane because there's nowhere else to pull over next to the park. On the others, it is a one-way street, so like that you can park a car on the other side of the street. There's no bike lane there, but there were all cars parked there. So there was nowhere else for me to pull over to let him into the park. So I pulled over into the bike lane. There's a massive sidewalk to the right of me, and there's an even bigger sidewalk on the left-hand side where the cars are parked. So, and I mean, the bike people weave in and out of the car lanes all the time anyway. So it's not like they're scared to do that, right? Oh, you can't hear me? Can somebody else comment and let me know if you can hear me or not? I mean, there's a decent amount of people watching, so can somebody let me know if I can be heard? I can assume that if people are watching, I must be able to be heard. So maybe the person who thinks that I'm muted, just like exit whatever you're watching and then come back. I don't know. Okay, so I pulled over into the bike lane, and if you know me, you know that I am fiercely against bike lanes. First of all, that was like part of my campaign for Boston City Council. It's a huge deal around here. I have not met anybody outside of like weird bicyclists who typically I don't even think they're from here that are for bike lanes. Pretty much everybody in the city, in other cities, all over the place, people don't like bike lanes. They're against them. I've been to meetings of hundreds and hundreds of Boston residents who are like fiercely against the bike lanes. So, you know, I mean, there's not really, I don't think there's any way to even like address the bike lane situation at this moment in time anyway, because they're there, there's not really much we could do about it. But I don't, if there is ever any way to address a situation, I believe it should be addressed, right? So I didn't like purposely pull into the bike lane, thinking, oh, I'm going to have a confrontation with a police officer and I'm going to, try to get myself in trouble here. You know what I mean? Like that was not my intent. I was doing something at the park. Okay. And I didn't get out of my car. So I didn't actually put my car in park. I had the hazards on, right? And I was sitting in my car. Sean, who was in the park. So I'm sitting there for maybe 5 minutes, if that, like it's, it seems longer. I feel like when you're sitting there doing nothing. So maybe 5 minutes. And a person on a bike rode up to my window and was like, you really can't park anywhere else. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, did it like kill you to have to drive around me? Like, and she says, I was like, does anybody complain? Is anybody complaining to you about you driving in and out of car lanes? And she's like, yeah, it's called share the road. And I'm like, yeah, right, exactly. Share the road. But I mean, even still, roads are for cars. Bikes shouldn't be on the road. It's dangerous, right? So, dangerous for everybody involved, because if a bicyclist is hit by somebody operating a vehicle, first of all, they're not made to have insurance like we are. They don't have to register their bikes and have a license to drive. They're not even, mandated, forced, or, penalized to wear a helmet, or, there's no repercussions if they're not wearing a helmet, whatever. So they can come on the roads where the cars are supposed to be. And if a vehicle driver hits them because they are irresponsible and they weave in and out of traffic and they run red lights and, take turns down one ways and everything else like that, it would automatically be the driver's fault. It would be, it could be a really bad situation where somebody gets hurt. It could be a bad situation where a car accident between two vehicles is caused because somebody's stopping short to avoid hitting a bicyclist. All types of things, dangerous situations arise when you allow bicyclists to be on the street, or empower bicyclists to get used to driving on the street with cars, right? So where's the video you were going to post with the first interaction with the police? Oh, I'll post that probably after I get off of here. So yeah, so I'm there at like maybe 5 minutes. The bicyclist pulls up to me. She probably stopped at the cops, I think, before she came over and said something to me, because right after she drove away, like the blue lights on a cop down the street, on a cop car down the street, went on, and he pulled up behind me. So he walked up and he said, I'm going to need you to move out of the bike lane. And I said, well, I'm just going to be here another minute. I'm waiting for my friend who's in the park. I'm just picking somebody up. And he says, okay, but you can't be here. I'm like, yeah, I'm not staying here. I'm not getting out of my car. I'm not in park. I'm just waiting for my friend. It'll only be a couple minutes. And he says, well, I would rather you pull out and go to that side of the street. And I'm like, there's no parking over there. It's all cars parked there. There's no room for me to pull over there. And he's like, you can double park over there. So I'm like, you're telling me that you want me to go double park and clog up traffic on the other side of the street instead of just being in the bike lane for 5 minutes while I'm waiting to pick somebody up. And he's like, yeah, which I'm pretty sure, like, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but isn't it also illegal in the same way to double park? Right? You're not supposed to double park. You're not supposed to just like park your car in the middle of the street, no matter what. Right? And I mean, people do it all the time and don't get tickets for it because it's usually a quick thing. And that's why they do it. Right? And it was a quick thing with me too. I wasn't trying to leave my car there. I was sitting in my car. The car was on. My hazards were on. And I was only there for a couple minutes waiting for him to get back in the car. So, I tell him, like, no, I'm not moving over there. I'm not going to clog up traffic and have people beeping and everything else when there's plenty of space over here for me to wait here. The bike people can weave in and out of traffic like they always do anyway, or they could pop up on the sidewalk real quick. No, this is the appropriate spot to pull over in my eyes. So he says, well, if you're not going to move, then I'm going to give you a ticket. I'm like, a ticket for what? I am going to move in a minute when he gets back in my car. And he says, for parking in a no parking area. And I'm like, well, if you need to give me a ticket, then give me a ticket, I guess. Like, and again, for those of you who don't know the area, don't know Tremont Street, don't know Boston Common, it isn't even as simple as I could pull off and go around the block, because I have to go like 3 blocks up before I can even make a turn to be able to start the circle back to that part where I was at. And then I would have had to just come up and pull over into the bike lane again, or stop in the middle of traffic and congest traffic to be able to pull over. Right. And so there's one issue with this too, is that I think it was like last year or maybe even early this year, the city council started talking about implementing a toll on drivers to drive through the city. I don't know like what the status of that is, or if it's something that they're voting on, or if it's something that they already passed. I have no idea. But they wanted to implement a toll to drive through downtown Boston. They say that it's going to be only for certain types of vehicles or whatever. But even still, it's like they want to put a toll for people to drive downtown Boston to try to ease up the traffic driving through downtown Boston. Well, the traffic has gotten way more congested since we started putting in these bike lanes and these turn only lanes and all of these stupid poles everywhere. There's new street lines, and those poles, I don't even know what they're made out of or what they're actually called, but they're little poles. They're white or they're yellow with reflectors. Right. So there's poles, and I would love to know how much money this is all costing the taxpayers, because everybody's so concerned about my welfare costing the taxpayers money, but we're not going to complain about how much money it's costing to put in all of these lines on the street and all of these stupid poles and the speed humps and everything that they're doing, which is making it more and more difficult and frustrating to own a vehicle in the city when you live in the city, or to drive a vehicle through the city. Right. So not only is it making it harder on people who live here who need to drive through Boston, people who work here who need to drive through Boston, but as if we don't have enough bills and we are not in a recession already. Just add more money that we need to pay for things, and more aggravation and more frustration. And I'll tell you right now that you environmental people, like the people that are for the bike lanes are typically the same people that are in on this whole like climate crisis thing going on, right? How is cars idling for extended periods of time good for the environment? Like if we're stuck in traffic is congested and backed up, and then you have tons of areas where there's massive traffic congestion and the cars are just letting out their fumes into the air. Like how is that good for the environment? It's not. Traffic congestion. So anyway, so he tells me he's going to give me a ticket. He walks away to the cop car. When he walks away, Sean gets back in the car. I could have just drove away from there. Like literally, we could have been done with that situation, right? He comes back, hands me the ticket. It's a $90 ticket for a no parking zone, which is why I have this thing below me here. If you want to help me, the ticket, I am going to appeal the ticket. I don't know if I'm going to have to pay it or not, but it's a $90 ticket. I think I have it. Yeah. Can you see it? Where is it? Okay, well, you can't really see it, but I'll take a picture of it and I'll post it later. It's a $90 ticket for being in a no parking zone. And then he says, oh, by the way, your license is suspended. So don't drive away just yet. And I'm like, what? And at this point, that's when I started streaming live. It was like right when he came back and handed me the ticket. I wasn't streaming live yet. So he tells me my license is suspended. I'm like, suspended for what? He's like, I don't know. I can go check. Don't move. They're like, you cannot drive away because you will get pulled over and you will get arrested. So again, for all the people in the comments on Twitter talking about that I'm privileged or, whatever, white privilege, I would have been arrested if that was the issue in the first place. But he let me know that my license was suspended and he didn't pull me over. I wasn't actively driving when he approached the scene. He did not ever see me driving. So he couldn't have arrested me for driving on a suspended license because he didn't witness me driving. So he tells me don't move. He goes back to check and he says that it's suspended for unpaid tickets or something. So and I looked on my phone, which is why I shut the live off. If you see the live get cut off, that's why I shut it off so that I could go look it up on my phone. But also, if you follow Sean Nelson on Facebook, as soon as I shut off my live, he went live on his phone. So there's another piece to the story if you want to go look at his video on Sean Nelson's Facebook. And he live streamed the rest of it when the sergeant came and everything else. So I look it up on my phone and it says that I owe $95 in toll fees. So that is actually why I have this thing below me where you can Cash App or Venmo me if you want to help me pay those toll fees. So that's why my license is suspended. And then he said that, I had, if I could get somebody there really fast to drive the car away, then it wouldn't be towed. Basically, then this is something that they always say. I've heard of people being pulled over in Massachusetts on a suspended license. And I even did have a suspended license way back in 2015 or something, where I didn't have anybody that could come meet me. And I did actually get arrested and my car got towed. So it's not uncommon for them to say, if you can get somebody else with a license here before the tow truck comes, then they can drive your car away and it won't be towed. Like, I feel like that's pretty standard for them to do. So, because they said that to me way back then, but I just didn't have anybody to call then. So luckily, because I was streaming live, somebody who lived in the area, my friend, called me and was like, "Do you need help? Like, I have a license, I can come." So she came and drove my car away. And that's why my car wasn't towed. Again, there was no reason for me to be arrested because this police officer did not actually witness me driving my vehicle. So he can't say that I was driving without a license. He came up when I was just sitting there in the lane, you know? So, so I said that I was going to call somebody, and I said, in the meantime, like, can you get your supervisor here? And because I did ask him, like, can you please just give me the grace to drive home? Like, I live in Dorchester. I had no idea that my license was suspended. It's Friday night. Like, it's not like I can easily fix this right now. So both of us live in Dorchester. Can you just let me drive home? Because it's not, you know, and also it's not like my license was suspended for some type of violation or crime. It's suspended because of a money issue. Okay. So this is just another thing that happens to poor people, another way for the government to prey on vulnerable, low income people, low income or no income people. This seems to be like an ongoing trend in my recent videos where I'm talking about how the government is weaponized and weaponizes the police to prey on the vulnerable and the poor, right? So, you know, it's always a money issue. Like, you know, had I not had money issues, my tolls would be paid. I would have a prepaid, what is it called? Like easy pass mass or pay by, I don't know. I used to have like a transponder with like a prepaid account, but then because you also, if you don't have a transponder, you get your tolls are like 3 times the amount with the transponder. So I didn't transfer over my transponder when I got this car last year, because in order to have a transponder with a prepaid account, it's like a minimum of $130 through the prepaid account. And I didn't have $130 to put into a toll account when I got my new car. So I just never did it. So the tolls for me are 3 times more than the tolls for somebody with a transponder and a prepaid account. And so, and it comes in the mail, the bill for the tolls, like after you've driven through them. And I actually just paid like a huge chunk of tolls and parking tickets and stuff like a few weeks ago. And so when, so we asked him for his supervisor. He said, why, which shut the fuck up. Excuse me. It's frustrating because when you ask a police officer or any public official for their supervisor, like, just get the supervisor. There's no need to ask why. So he calls his supervisor and the supervisor comes down. I say the same thing to him. Like, can you please just give me the grace to drive home? I had no idea that my license was suspended. I wouldn't be sitting here in a bike lane arguing with a police officer about being in a bike lane if I knew that my license was suspended. I probably wouldn't even have pulled over in a bike lane if I knew that my license was suspended and was still driving with a suspended license. I wouldn't be trying to put a spotlight on myself and say, hey, come, you know, mess with me so that it can be revealed that I have no license and you can possibly arrest me right now. That's not what I was trying to do. So anyway, the supervisor gets there. I ask him for grace. He says, well, he tells the officer, go and check like the suspension date. So basically he's going to see if it was like within the past couple of days or something, and see if he was trying to like gauge whether or not I was lying about not knowing. And the date was July 1st that my license was suspended. So he determined that that's plenty of time. I should have known. Therefore, no, I'm not going to let you drive home, but I will give you like 10 minutes to try to call somebody to drive your vehicle away. So, like I said, because I was live, a friend saw the live stream and she was in the area. She walked down, she drove my car away, and I got a $90 ticket for being in a no parking zone. But the funny part, though, about the license suspension is that first, I mean, none of it's funny really because it's disgusting how bad they prey on poor people, vulnerable people, and how money issues, like if you can't pay a bill, you're a criminal. You get treated like a criminal, right? So July 1st, my license was suspended. I've been to the registry of motor vehicles like at least 5 times since July 1st, dealing with registration issues. And like I just said, I just paid off a couple weeks ago a chunk of tolls and parking tickets that I had on my, like account or registration or whatever to be able to fix a registration issue. So for one, I didn't even know that I still had $95 in toll fees to pay. I thought I paid it all off. And for two, how was I at the registry that many times and nobody let me know that my license was suspended and that because my registration is set to expire this month. So how did I not know, like how did nobody ever tell me? And all those times at the registry that I'm dealing with those issues, oh, by the way, your registration is non-renewable and your license is suspended. I didn't get a letter in the mail. I've got stuff in the mail about pay by plate, like random bills that which one of them just shows that I paid off a bunch of them and it doesn't like there's no $95, like it doesn't match what it says when I look up the status of my license. So, but nothing that I have tells me that my license is suspended. And it's been suspended since July 1st. I had no idea. So, anyway, that's what happened. And so there was a post on Twitter that said like that I was arguing with a police officer because I was parked in a bike lane and had my driving privileges removed, which, that's misleading. That's a lie because they make it sound like I lost my license because I was parked in a bike lane. So, whatever, but it's clickbait and a lot of people are talking about it. So, like, thanks for the clicks, thanks for the publicity or the attention that I'm seeking so bad, I guess, because I'm getting a million notifications every minute because of the couple of posts that are being shared about my license being suspended. So thanks, guys. Anyway, so I think that's all I have to say about the license issue. It'll probably be figured out, like within the next couple of days. I assume once I paid the $95. But also the police officer. So he ran my license before he ever even asked me for my actual physical license card. So this is something that I wanted to talk about too, because he didn't ask me for my license until after he told me that my license was suspended. So he already ran my license before he had the physical card in his hand. And then when he asked me for it, I asked him on camera and his body cam was on. I said, if I hand this card to you, am I going to get it back? And he said, yes. And I said, no, like tonight, right now. Are you going to give the card back to me if I give it to you? And he said, yes. I gave it to him, didn't get it back. And of course, with the commotion of them rushing me to get my friend there to drive the car and me getting my friend there and all of that, I forgot to ask for it back. So I called within minutes of us leave, maybe like 20 minutes after we left, I called the police station and I said, hey, I was just pulled over and the officer took my license card and didn't give it back to me. And she said, well, as I understand, your license is suspended. So when your license is suspended, we confiscate the card. And I said, no. He was on camera. I specifically asked him, am I going to get this card back tonight? Are you going to give it back to me tonight if I hand it to you? And he said yes. Like, he didn't tell me he was confiscating it. And so I have a couple problems with this, right? One is that's absolutely true. They do confiscate your card, right? Why? Because it's in their system when the license is suspended. Clearly, he knew my license was suspended before I ever even handed him the card. So it's not like me having my physical license on me makes it so that I can get away with driving with a suspended license, right? But this is my identification. Like, I need that card. And it doesn't expire until 2027. So how is this part of the procedure? Why is it logical that they take your card away from you? This doesn't make any sense. It's not fair. Again, preying on the vulnerable, attacking the vulnerable and the poor and all that. I don't have money to go get a new license card. Okay. I don't have money. She tells me, oh yeah, we confiscate your card. But once you clear it up and get the suspension lifted, you'll get a new card. And I'm like, no, they don't just like send you a complimentary license card. Like, I have to go and order one, and that costs money that I don't have. And she's like, well, I think they give you a temporary one. Like, yeah, they give you a temporary one when you order a new one and pay for it. And so I would like my card back. There's no reason for him to take it. Like, it's my identification. I need it for other things outside of driving. And, having the card doesn't mean that I'm in any way going to get away with driving with a suspended license anyway. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. So it's all just about money. It's disgusting. So I don't have my card. She told me that she would take down my name and number and have him call me in about 20 minutes when he got back to the station. And of course, he never called me. I wouldn't even be surprised if he threw my ID in a sewer. Like, because that's just how they are. Like, that's how public officials are. That's how a lot of police officers are. And they just don't care. They're all on power trips. They all think they're better than like poor people or, people who are just civilians or whatever. I don't know. But like, you give them an attitude or you're rude to them and they use their power against you. Like, that's not legal. That's not moral. Shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be allowed. Should be very much like reprimandable, but it's not. You can put in a million complaints about police officers and public officials abusing their power or, being retaliatory. Is that the word? Retaliatory? And nothing happens. So, I wish that more people would assert their rights and stand their ground when they come across public officials who are abusing their power and being retaliatory, because it doesn't, I've had a couple people say to me, well, you asked for it because you were being an asshole. Like, you asked for that ticket because you were being an asshole. You asked for him to run your license because you were being an asshole. Like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. And I've had so many situations where it's like, where people have been like, you asked for it because of your attitude. You asked for it because of the way you spoke to them. No, it is not their job to say, well, she gave me an attitude, so I'm going to enforce the laws even harder on her or anybody for that matter, for anything in any situation. No public official and no police officer should ever use their power to be retaliatory toward subject, toward whatever person that they're dealing with. It doesn't matter if you like somebody's attitude. That's like saying, that you asked for somebody to spit in your coffee because you were rude to the person making your coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. Like, no, that's not okay. That person would still get fired if somebody found out that they spit in somebody's coffee. Like, it's literally the same thing. You can't treat me differently because you don't like my attitude. Like, that's part of your job, is to deal with people's attitudes. And most people are not going to be happy when they're having a back and forth with you. Like, get over it. So anyway, I think that probably clears up all the speculation about the suspended license. Once again, I have tons of haters and trolls, so it's very common that I have way more viewers than I do interaction in the comments. So if you have any other questions about the license or the bike lane or anything like that, go ahead and ask in the comments, because per usual, I only have like 3 people commenting, even though I have almost 300 viewers. So I can't run a mile, but I'm working on it. Thank you. So anyway, moving on. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the 2A rally yesterday. It was a beautiful day outside. We had I wasn't the organizer of the rally. It was a bunch of like gun guys. Like firearms instructors or licensing people or people who sell firearms. I don't know. Gun guys organized a rally, and I came in kind of like a sponsor helper. Like, if you need anything, let me know. And I tried to help as much as I could without being like, a gun person really. But so we were there with our Blexit table, and we had a bunch of cool 2A merchandise to give away from Blexit, Turning Point. And there were probably like maybe 300 to 500 people there. Again, correct me in the comments. I don't really know. There were a few hundred people there, and a lot of great signs and a lot of great people. I think maybe like 15 to 20 speakers. I'm not even sure, but it was a good day, and I spoke. A lot of the gun guys spoke. Some political candidates spoke. George Mendoza, who is running for mayor against Wu next year, he spoke. That was great. Danny Kelly, who's running for U.S. Congress in the 8th District, he spoke. And who else? A Chinese man by the name of Yu Chao spoke. He has an incredible story and a YouTube channel if you want to look him up. Yu Chao is his name. And then Toby Leary from Cape Gunworks and some other gun people. And also the regional director of the Northeast region of Blexit, Jess. She spoke too. So it was a great day. We completely ran out of all of the merchandise that we had to give away, so I got to order more. And we made a lot of really great new connections, and it was just a nice day. There was one person who was speaking who I don't really know. So this guy was speaking, and he was like upset about people wearing MAGA hats or something at the rally, right? And said that, there's a lot of Black people or like minorities that, that are gun owners that don't show up to this type of thing because they're not comfortable. They don't feel safe, or they feel unwelcomed because people wear their MAGA gear or have their Trump signs or, all of that stuff. And he mentioned Confederate flags. I didn't see any Confederate flags at this event, but I think that he was just saying like just naming things that make people uncomfortable. And like, okay, I get it. Sure. But I was actually working the Blexit table while he was speaking, so I didn't actually get to hear his speech until like this morning when I went and rewatched it. So all I heard was like the commotion at the end because he told some lady was like heckling a couple people in the crowd, were like booing him or saying stuff, and he told some lady to shut up, like shut the hell up, lady, or something like that, he said. And so then the organizer was like, yeah, like, you're done now, like, thank you for speaking, like, we're done here, and like tried to grab the mic from him. Now 2 times the organizer tried to grab the mic from him. Well, even after, you know what, I'm wrong, because he told the lady to shut up and the organizer went to try to grab the mic. And then the guy was like, no, I'm not done. And the organizer let him continue. So he talked for another few more minutes before he got ended. But I also just want to point out that I think like maybe Toby Leary, because he's like one of like the bigger names that was there, I think maybe he had more time to speak, but pretty much every other speaker had like 10 minutes or less. And I even went a little bit over 10 minutes, and the guy was like rushing me at the end. So it's not like this guy was like being deprived of speaking time, because he spoke for at least 15 minutes and was controversial and like pissing people off in the crowd. And the guy didn't cut him off until like at least 15 minutes. So he wasn't deprived of speaking time. He didn't finish his speech, but he had a really long speech. Sorry. So sorry. So there was commotion because of that. The guy was upset and played the victim, acting as if he got less speaking time than other people, or he got treated differently or whatever. No, it was because he was insulting people and he was being combative and like just like whining, like, oh, black people aren't here, which there were plenty of black people there. So I don't even know, like, I mean, it's like, it sucks because like I agree with him that like the conservatives and the gun people, or like whatever the issue is, whatever the conservative issue is, Republicans in general do not do enough outreach or communication or trying to get minorities involved that are not already involved, that have the same views as us but are not necessarily connected to know when events are happening, or don't even know that the groups like this exist, right? Republicans absolutely do not do enough outreach, and that's why the Democrats win, because they have an A+ outreach game, right? So like I agree with him on all of that, hence why I took on the Blexit chapter to try to help that situation, right? To try to get something going and get people more engaged and get more outreach happening. So he threw a fit, he was done, and the organizer was like, all right, that's enough. And that was like the only like relatively negative thing about the day. And the only reason I actually mention it is because he went live later last night to talk about it, and then eventually I ended up joining his live and having like a little back and forth with him. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But first I want to talk about the Herald coverage of this rally yesterday. So I am a little bit surprised that the Herald even covered it, because it's a weekend rally and typically no media covers conservative stuff unless there's some like really big name there, that like needs to be covered, right? And there wasn't really. So the Herald did cover it. It did get like a nod on the bottom of the front page, but the front page was, I have it right here actually. So the front page is football, Patriots, because that's hella important, right? And then Carnival, okay? And then you see down here just a one-liner, gun owners rally on the common to overturn firearm law, right? So everybody, or a lot of people, consider the Herald like the conservative newspaper, as opposed to the Globe. And the Herald, I've loved some Herald articles and I've not loved some Herald articles, right? But there always has to be opposition, right? So like if the Globe is like all about the Democrats, then there has to be somebody who like doesn't agree, right? But I just think it's interesting because you have two very different events this weekend depicted in a way to almost like pit them against each other, right? Because when you turn to the page of these two events, first of all, so you have the Carnival over here where it says, I always feel safe. And then you have the gun owners rally with that messaging and pictures where I'm like, how do I hold this up so that you can see it? So you have this nonsense, right? And then this picture that just looks like the typical stereotype of gun owners or Republicans, like white hicks, I feel like, right? I don't know these people. So I don't mean that as like an insult to those people, but like that's what it looks like. You got a guy with a cowboy hat, an American flag cowboy hat, and just white people, right? And then Toby Leary, probably like the biggest name there yesterday, and Amy Carnevale, the chair of the GOP, who spoke for probably like 2 minutes. I don't even know what she said. So it's just like, I mean, it's propaganda. Come on. On one page, I always feel safe. I always feel safe at Carnival, where all the minorities go this weekend, where I think like last year and another year or something, I don't know if anything happened this weekend, but I feel like like there's been shootings at that event in prior years, right? But I always feel safe. And then, scary white supremacist gun guys over here. So like that's the way that it looked like to me. Like it was like marketing, So I mean the article's like blah, just like some quotes from Toby Leary and the gun people. I don't know. Doesn't mention any political candidates were there. Doesn't show any good pictures of the crowd. I think purposely. Now, I'm 99.9% sure this is on purpose. There's no picture of any black people at that gun rally. Okay, that's on purpose. There were plenty of black people in the crowd at that rally, but they want to depict it as if this was some like racist, white supremacist, Republican, Trump gun rally, right? That's how it needs to be depicted. So, while I appreciate that it was covered, period, I don't appreciate the way that they tried to make it look. And there were tons of really great rally signs, and they put the spotlight on that one. So the one with the one that mentions the Third Reich and has a Hitler mustache on Maura Healey. They were amazing. They had a contest for the best rally sign. So people voted and people won prizes based on their signs. Like people actually put work into the rally signs, and they were great signs, and they showed that. So, whatever. So that's how I feel about the Herald's coverage. And then, last night, the guy, his name was Pierre. He has a firearms business, Solomon Firearms Training, I think, LLC in Swansea. And so he went live last night to talk about, what he didn't like about the rally, how he was upset about MAGA hats and, them not making it a comfortable space for people who disagree with them about Trump and people wearing MAGA hats and all that. And so I was saying some things in the comments, and he put an invitation up for anybody that wanted to join him to talk about it or whatever. So I went on and live streamed with him for I don't even know, maybe like 2 or almost 3 hours. I don't even know. But it was a decent conversation. I think there was a little bit of arguing. There was, we strayed off onto some different topics on some other issues, but all in all, it was a decent conversation. Not gonna lie, there is some Trump derangement syndrome happening there. And, he's very concerned about people prioritizing Second Amendment rights and saying that, that's the most important issue for him. And I just think that if you are all about fighting for this one issue, then you would not allow yourself to be so bothered and triggered by what somebody's wearing. And, he purporting that I'm wearing a MAGA hat is a sign of racism. So, but also that he doesn't think that everybody who wears a MAGA hat is racist. So it's like, pick an argument, pick a stance. I don't know. You're like, I don't know. We don't know. And he seems to think that a rally like that would be able to get way more people if people didn't wear MAGA hats at the rallies. And so I challenged him to have another rally and put on the flyer, please don't wear any political apparel or whatever. And he's not doing that. He declined that. So, and then I offered to have my own rally and say, if I throw another rally, can you get people there? Because I'm not great at getting people. So if you think that there's tons of people that would show up if it wasn't a MAGA thing, then let's do it, right? Let's engage those people who wouldn't show up to this one. Why not? And he just, he doesn't have time for that. So the Second Amendment is just so important to him that he doesn't have time for another rally. And again, I say all the time that I don't even love rallies. Rallies are like a social event. It's great to get people amped up on a cause or something, but you need to have a plan after the rally. What are you going to do after that? You can't just show up to a rally and say that you're fighting for something. Rallying is not fighting. It's networking and socializing and directing, and where, the conservative issues aren't that great at directing people to do anything. So, and a weekend rally, I don't like weekend rallies, and I don't like rallies in the middle of the common because, first of all, people who live in Boston don't typically go to the common on the weekend, and it's hard to park there. It's not visible from the street, so you can have a massive rally in the middle of the common and nobody even knows about it because you're not even being seen by the people passing by on the street. Plus, people don't even drive through downtown Boston on the weekend. It's just if you're gonna do something, you might as well do it on a weekday when people are traveling to and from work in the city. So anyway, that's what happened with that. Again, if you think that I'm leaving anything out or any details from the rally or the conversation last night, remind me in the comments. And I already talked about the license. I can see that there's a few comments from the dedicated trolls about my license, but I talked about that in the first part of the video. So if you weren't here for that, then you're just going to have to watch the replay, guys. But there was something else that I saw earlier. I saw a sponsored ad on Facebook for Erin Murphy's campaign for clerk of courts that she's running for. And I just thought it was interesting and annoying because I pointed this out while I was campaigning last year that Rootsy has a sign, which her sign is still up, the specific sign that I was talking about, because these people don't take their signs down. She had a sign up last year for she's a Boston City Councilor at large, and when the campaign was going on last year, she had put up signs that said Democrat on the top of them, which when she ran in previous years, she had the same sign, but it didn't say Democrat. So she added Democrat to her sign last year while she was campaigning. And if you know anything about politics, you would know, but most people would not know, that local government is supposed to be nonpartisan. That's why when you vote for city council or mayor or town meeting or town council or select board and everything like that, that it's nonpartisan. So you don't see like a D or an R next to anybody's name, because the purpose of local government is to just work, handle like the municipal business. So handle the city business or the town business and be nonpartisan, non-political, and just work in best interest for the municipality, which is the city or town. That's why it's nonpartisan. It's not supposed to be political. The people who hold these offices are not legislators. A legislator is somebody who is like a state rep, a state senator, or on the federal level, a U.S. senator or a U.S. congressperson, house rep, whatever, however you call them, right? So in Erin Murphy's sponsored ad, she refers to herself as a legislator on the Boston City Council. And I'm just like, this is just another thing where we ignore it, and it brings us another step closer to communism, another step closer to dictatorship, to, the ruling class, and, us being the peasants. They make these tiny little changes. They make a lot of vocabulary changes. They slip in a lot of words like democracy. Everybody, for the most part, refers to our government as a democracy when it is not meant to be a democracy. It's meant to be a constitutional republic. But they just repeat these words over and over and over again until we accept them as facts, until we accept them as reality. And we're tricked into thinking is something that it's not. So I just thought that was an interesting thing to point out. And with Rootsy putting the Democrat on her sign and putting the word Democrat on her sign, and now Erin Murphy referring to herself as a legislator. And also when we were campaigning last year, Julia Mejia, one of her huge talking points, one of her huge accomplishments that she always talks about, is how many pieces of legislation she passed during her last term as city councilor. And it's like, but that's not your job. Every now and then, city ordinance get, amended or changed or added or whatever. And, there's home rule petitions for certain laws to change for the municipality that, need to be worked out through the state house and stuff like that. So yeah, there is, every now and then, areas of legislation that a local government would work on, but that's not it's not that it's not their job, but it's not something that should be so common that this is something that they do regularly. It's not supposed to be common like that. It's supposed to be maybe once ever, here or there, a couple times a decade, maybe a local government would participate in some type of legislation. Laws should not be changing at the speed that they do. And especially local government shouldn't be changing and amending laws the way that they do. That's not what they're there for. That's not how local government's supposed to work. So I don't really know like how else to say that, or how, if there's any better way of explaining it. But just something that I think that people should pay attention to is that most of us don't understand how a local government is supposed to operate. And because we don't understand, they are able to continue to grossly violate the Constitution and to violate us and our rights and the process of government. And I mean, our city councilors get paid $115,000 a year. That is way too much. Our mayor gets paid like over $200,000 a year. Way too much. When the state legislators are only getting paid like less than $40,000 a year. Like what sense does that make? An employees of the mayor and the city councilors make anywhere between like 60 to 80,000. Some even make more than that. But a state legislator is making like $36,000 a year. It doesn't make any sense. Like these positions don't even need to be full-time jobs. So like, you know, when you look around and you don't recognize your city anymore, and you're upset about the bike lanes, and you're upset about the bus lanes, and you're upset about everything changing and all of these new buildings going up, and you know, why doesn't the community have any say, and why are they you know, doing whatever it is they're doing to your specific neighborhood? That's because we're not even saying anything about the fact that they've taken their job to a whole different level that it was never supposed to go to in the first place. We don't even know that we're not even educating ourselves or being educated enough in the schools to know how local government is supposed to be operated. So this is like huge. It's really important. I'm just looking at the comments real quick because I think that I basically talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. Thank you again to the trolls for blowing up my Trump hat picture and my license suspension. I think it's probably really helping with the viewership of this live stream right now, so I appreciate it. I will say too that I have this below because I have to pay $95 in toll fees to fix my license situation. I just found out on Friday night that my license is suspended, and it's been suspended since July 1st, but I had no idea. And so if you want to help me with that, you can Cash App or Venmo me. Look at the bottom of the screen. And if you are just now coming across my video because of the lovely publicity my trolls have given me on Twitter, then you can check out our website, boston2boston.com, and you can get connected with us there. And as I always say, I'm not a web designer or a creator or anything like that. So I'm a little bit slacking in the content area, but I'm trying to get better and more consistent with posting and with what I post and with updating my website and getting emails out to the people that just subscribe to the email list. So you can check out the website. You can contact us. We do all kinds of activism and political things. So I'm in Boston, and I work a lot with Sean Nelson, who's in the comments, who's also in Boston. The both of us ran for Boston City Council last year. and we've been activists together for the past 3 years all over the state. And I mean, we're really like the only conservatives in Boston that are actually trying to get any work done here, because the Massachusetts GOP stays away from Boston pretty much. So, and also too, fun announcement, I'm a Republican now. I have been independent or unenrolled since 2018, or not 2018, 2008, when I registered to vote. And I was planning on staying independent, unenrolled, but then I decided that I might as well just join the Republican Party, because even though I don't really believe in the two-party system, Massachusetts is a one-party state. Massachusetts is like deep blue, because the Republicans either work hand in hand with the Democrats, or they just are so comfortable with their own lives out in the suburbs that they don't bother actually doing any work for the party. So I figured I might as well get involved with the party and start getting things done, because nobody else is. So I'm a Republican now. So you guys can go tweet about that. But yeah, I think that that's all that I had to talk about tonight. If I forgot anything, let me know in the comments. If you're tuning in late, definitely go watch the replay, because I did talk about the license thing and the bike lane thing in the beginning of the video, because that's like a hot topic for tonight. Thank you, people on Twitter that love me. It's so funny, because I thought that my Twitter trolls were my Twitter trolls, and then I had other trolls on Facebook, but the Twitter trolls are watching my Facebook lives apparently too, because I was only live on Facebook talking about my suspended license, and I didn't say anything on Twitter about my suspended license, but they found it. So, I mean, kudos to you guys for keeping up with everything that I'm doing. I can barely keep up with the things that I'm doing. So, I saw a couple posts that have like over 100,000 views about me. So thanks. I appreciate it. I'm glad that we're all like working together to get out the word that there is resistance and conservative movement happening in Boston, Massachusetts. Like, thank you so much. I can't even express how thankful I am for you, for you guys, like, you know, bringing attention to these serious issues that we have going on in Boston. It's amazing. So glad. And to Blexit, Massachusetts. I'm the state director of the Massachusetts chapter of Blexit, Massachusetts, and Sean Nelson is the assistant state director. We just started our chapter in May, so we're fairly new, but we are growing and we are doing events all over the place. And, you know, thanks to the Twitter trolls, hopefully we'll have some new signups, and we'll be doing some more events and have some more participation. And yeah, I think that's all I got. I don't know what else to say. I see more people joining, so I'll just say again, I have this thing at the bottom with my Cash App and my Venmo. If anybody wants to chip in to help me pay my toll fee, because I just found out that my license has been suspended since July, and I had no idea. And it's suspended for $95 in toll fees that I owe. And now I have a $90 parking ticket for being pulled over in a bike lane, not even parked. Yes. Thank you to the trolls. So I think that's it. Unless anybody has any questions, I'm probably going to go get some sleep. And hopefully I'll be back to talk to you guys tomorrow or at some point this week, because like I said, I'm trying to be more consistent with my posting, especially since I have all of these promoters out there. It's exciting. Thank you guys. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.